126. Yes, I'm sure it's 126. Trev's Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. It's too sweet. Doing something we haven't done in a long time. And I had an order written out for every one of them that I wanted to do. But I figured, let's just stick to at least the order in which all these happened. I'm talking, of course, about retired numbers. That's what we're going back to. So I'm going to stick to the order they're retired in. I'm not going to stick to the order I had in mind, because there's a lot of ones that I can finish up or catch up really quickly. So I'm going with simplicity on this one. But we're talking about Colorado's first retired number. Ray Bourque, number 77. Let's talk about it. Now, I know when I saw this, my first reaction was, why? He hadn't really done much with the team other than be the inspiration for their second Stanley Cup. And that was probably the point I missed. But either way, let's talk about Bourque's career in Colorado, which began on March 6, 2000, trade deadline for the 99-2000 season. A couple days beforehand, he requested a trade out of Boston. One of those things you'd never ever think would happen, right? But he wasn't getting any younger. Bruins weren't getting any better. He wanted to trade to a contender, and he got it. Him, along with Dave Adamchuk, went to Colorado for Brian Rolston, Samuel Paulson, Martin Grenier, and a first overall pick in the 2000 draft, which turned out to be Martin Samuelsson. He was drafted 27th overall. So no fuss, no muss, right? You at least get players out of the deal, and even if your first overall pick doesn't pan out, you at least get to say you got a first overall pick. After his arrival in Colorado, the Avalanche registered in their last 15 games a record of 12-2-1. 12 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie. So, needless to say, his experience, his leadership ability, his presence on the team definitely helped Colorado win the division that year. Because, I mean, they weren't necessarily struggling, but they were in a very tough division for 99-2000 season. With Bourque on board, they easily won. They also acquired Theoren Fleury at that same trade deadline. But I don't know when we'll talk about Fleury. He was actually one of my favorite players, but I'm getting completely off the topic here. In the 2000 playoffs, the Avalanche were 1 goal away from at least tying for the opportunity to go to the Cup final. Went 7 games in the conference final, where they lost to Dallas. Bourque's last shot in that series literally would have tied the game if it didn't hit the crossbar. So they were literally 1 shot short of making to the Cup in his first year. But that's okay. Because for the 2000-2001 offseason, he strongly debated whether he was coming back. But he did. He re-signed for a 1-year deal. Avalanche gave him the alternate captain, which I don't have on this jersey. But that's okay. Don't really need it. Needless to say, Bourque was a bit determined for this season. Finished leading the team amongst defensemen in points with 59. And that was a pretty solid defensive core too. I mean, he had Adam Foote on the point, and they later acquired Rob Blake at the 2001 trade deadline, so they were all in. All in. So they made it to playoffs rather convincingly. They won the President's Trophy that year as well, for most points in the league. And yeah, on top of that, Bourque also was one of the 6 representatives to represent them, the Avalanche, at the 2001 All-Star Game, which conveniently was in Colorado. Go figure, right? But they made it to the playoffs in what they called Operation 16W, which is 16 wins. That's how many wins it takes to win the Cup. And I think that Bourque was a huge part of the 16W ideal, because he wanted to win the Cup, they wanted to win it for him. After the first round, if they swept Vancouver, it looked pretty easy, but LA gave him some trouble. He took out LA in 7. Then St. Louis took out St. Louis in 5 before they went to New Jersey. Bourque did score the game winner in Game 3 and played the last minute and some in Game 7, being on the ice when the game ended, letting it sink in, if the score of 3-1 didn't already sink in enough, that, hey, he's winning the cup. And what a good time for him to win that cup, as opposed to tradition where the captain's the first to hoist it. Joe Sakic had enough class just to be like, hey, come here, take this. Bourque was the first one to lift the cup for the 2001 playoffs. And he was only an alternate. But 20-some years and the desire to win a cup, yeah, I wouldn't say no to that either. But in his day with the cup, it was June 13th. He took it to Boston because that's what he wanted all along, was a cup in Boston. So his day with the cup was spent in Boston. And not long after that, he announced his retirement. Also forgot to add in, on top of being a Stanley Cup champion in 2001, he was also a member of the first All-Star team and was later inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2004. He was also second in voting behind Nicholas Lidstrom for the Norris Trophy. So, needless to say, he was very well thought of. Had a very good season for his last season. His number was retired in Colorado 1 month and 20 days after the Bruins retired his number. So he became another one of those players to have his number retired twice. And we will talk about the Boston retirement in a much later video once we get closer to caught up in Boston. But I don't think it was retired based solely on his statistical contributions, because, I mean, let's not sugarcoat anything. His numbers for regular season were only 84 games played, 15 goals, 58 assists for 73 points, and 54 penalty minutes. Playoffs, 34 games played, 5 goals, 14 assists for 19 points and 20 penalty minutes. So based on that, it's not really retired for statistics as much as I think it is, like I said in the beginning, he was a big inspiration to their second cup run. He bought in, they bought into him wanting it as badly as he did. So I think it was based on that it was a case of, okay, let's retire his number. And that is the story behind Colorado's first retired number. So that's another retired number, and this is episode 126, Trev's Hockey Show. I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture. I do want to mention this. I was going to make a video on it, but I thought, well, I'll just mention it this way. We did hit 50. We're at 50 subs, and I want to thank each and every one of you who has subbed to this channel. I hope I can keep you guys on board. I hope I can keep you guys entertained. And I hope we can get to 100. That's goal number 2. I mean, obviously, yes, the bigger goal is to hit the 1,000. But let's take the baby steps first. Let's go to 100. And after that, we'll pick up a new number. But either way, like I said, I do appreciate you guys subscribing and liking the videos and commenting even. I'm totally down for your comments. And if you want to see me cover a team that I haven't covered, or even a player that has a retired number, let me know. I mean, I would like to keep it in an order of whose was retired first and go along that order. But I mean, if it makes more sense just to do requests or do this number, that number, I'll do that. So it's a lot of numbers that have been retired, and it's going to take a lot of videos to cover all that ground. And I mean, there's more getting retired by the season. So it's enough to keep a guy busy. But either way, you know what to do if you like this video. That red button. We're going for 100 now. So you know what to do. All my socials there in the description down below. Moving forward, I have a couple more videos I'm thinking of doing tonight. One for sure, I've got the jersey pulled out already. But either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be looking for more videos from Trev. Later.